Hello, my name is Matthias, and welcome to the FPL Scope and the FPL Eye Test, where we take a look at this past weekend's Premier League matches from an FPL perspective. And today I'm in a particularly good mood. As you can see from my rank, I'm doing pretty well in FPL at the moment. My 5th green arrow in a row, and I'm up to 86k overall, jumping all the way up from like 1 million. So I basically just skipped triple digits entirely in terms of my rank. But not here to talk about my rank. I'm here to talk about what happened in Game Week 6, so we can learn from that and take it into Game Week 7 and beyond in FPL, because that's what we're all here to learn about, really, on this channel, hopefully. That's why you're here. Anyways, let's start with the main match, I think, from this past game week, which is between Newcastle and Arsenal. I've titled it with winning cures everything, because all of a sudden, after 1 week where it was disaster, Arsenal are finished as title contenders. They will never catch Liverpool. Everything is wrong with Arsenal. Arteta is a dumbass. Like, there were so many narratives about Arsenal after Game Week 5. And now, with one simple win, one simple Gabriel Magalhaes header to get 2-1 in injury time, all of a sudden Arsenal are fine. They are just 2 points behind Liverpool, who lost against Palace, which we'll get to, and everything is Gucci when it comes to Arsenal. Arsenal are also really FPL relevant team in general, because they have so many good matches coming up now, including West Ham at home in Game Week 7, and Gabriel getting so many points is someone that a lot of people will want to bring in if you haven't already. A lot of people wildcarded and brought him in for Game Week 6. And they were sort of vindicated by doing the wildcard rather than triple captaining Haaland. But if you are like me with my fantastic rank that I'm really proud of currently, you had Gabriel already and you triple captained Haaland at the same time and got 100 points this game week. So yeah. But anyways, let's talk about Arsenal Newcastle. A really interesting game. So many different things happened in this game. Started off with Arsenal just going on the front foot straight away. They had Eze from start. Arteta did actually adjust from the game against Man City in terms of his lineup. Started with Eze, which I did also say in this past week's like a week ago when I did the roundup for Game Week 5, I also said that he has to start Eze, and he did that. Arsenal and Eze, for that matter, looked amazing from the start of the game, really took control of the game, and then Newcastle managed to score, as usually happens, after Arsenal also were denied a penalty. And when it comes to the penalty incident, I'm not quite sure what I feel about it. I think like immediately it just felt like a clear pen in my opinion. And I also think it should be a pen, but at the same time, like Pope did touch the ball. Does that affect play? I don't really know. I think that like the main thing that I was upset about was the fact that Arsenal actually had a major chance to score there, and that was taken away because the ref blew the whistle, and they waited for VAR to do its magic. I'm not a big VAR fan. And then it ended up just being like Newcastle's ball, basically, which is crazy because Arsenal had the ball like in the box, like close to scoring, and all of a sudden Newcastle get the ball instead. So if it wasn't a penalty, at least Arsenal should have had the ball back because they were close to scoring. They probably should have been able to finish the attack before they made something out of it. So I actually would have wanted the ref to just not blow the whistle there. If he had thought that it was not a penalty from what he saw, Arsenal would have had a chance to score, and then they would have had the VAR review. So that's just another instance of why VAR isn't always like the justice that people want it to be in football. But yeah, plenty of VAR decisions both in this game and in the other games this game week. I'm not going to try to talk too much about it because yeah, it is just really tough to talk about. Really, there's so many aspects to it. But when it comes to the game, at least Arsenal were down 1-0. It seemed like a proper like Arsenal are going to bottle it type of game. Newcastle away has been always like a really tough game for Arsenal, and especially now with the current narrative around Arsenal before this game, it seemed like they were going to just go down and lose this game. That was just destined to happen. But Martin Ødegaard came on for Arsenal, a fellow Norwegian guy, and he was amazing. He turned the game around for Arsenal. He had the pre-assist or the hockey assist for the first goal that Arsenal scored. Declan Rice crossing it into the box for Mikel Merino, another substitution from Arteta, who managed to score against his former club as well, against Newcastle. Not that many people remember that he played for Newcastle back in the days, Mikel Merino, but he scored. He showed why he is not just a defensive midfielder as people have touted him as, but he is actually a really good goal scorer as well. And then Gabriel Magalhaes scored the header in the end to get the win. Gabriel also got 19 defense contributions, which is crazy. He was not seen as someone with good defense contribution potential before the season, but now he's gotten defense contributions in 2 out of the last 3 games, I think, or maybe the last 2 games entirely. Yeah, 2 out of the last 3 games, I think is correct. So he's doing good in that front, and he's also scoring goals, as we know he can do. He scored, was it 18 goals, 16 goals since his debut for Arsenal as a centre-back, the most from any defender since he started playing for Arsenal. So we know how good he is in that front. So yeah, DEFCON points, goal points, bonus points, a huge haul for anyone that had Gabriel, 13 points in total. Fantastic from him. So I think he is someone that you need to, of course, look into getting in FPL if you don't have him already. When it comes to Newcastle, they did play pretty well. They also had a penalty shout. Gabriel was also involved in that. He had his arm sort of raised above his head while he was sliding in for the tackle. He did actually win the tackle and got the ball. But then the ball went into his hand. And like the handball rules, even I don't really know where to stand on them. So yeah, I'm not going to comment too much on that either. But could have been a penalty for Newcastle. That was at 1-1, so it could have been an awful loss. But instead, just with a couple of instances of luck, I guess, for Arsenal, they managed to get the win in the end, and the narrative completely changes around them. So yeah, but in FPL terms, talked a lot about the game really so far. In FPL terms, Gabriel is obviously like the main guy from Arsenal to get. I also think Timber, as you can see there, the top for non-penalty expected goal moment for Arsenal was Timber. He was amazing in this game, both going forward and defensively. He is nailed for Arsenal. I think like this narrative that he is going to be subbed off or he's not going to be starting every game, I think that's kind of ludicrous. I know Ben White is a great right back, but Timber has just been amazing and he deserves to play. And he's also someone that can get more points in terms of goals and assists. Because he is really attacking and can get points from anywhere really. So I think Timber is a fantastic prospect for Arsenal. I also think Gyökeres is still looking really good. I think he's been underrated from the start of the season. A lot of people have actually praised him for his performances in this game against Newcastle. Really tough game with really physical defenders that he faced, sometimes ripping him in the face as well. Trying to rip off his Bane mask, I guess. But anyways, I think he had a good game. He's much better at link-up play and stuff that people give him credit for, because he is like a bit clumsy looking. He runs like clumsily. He sort of gets a bad rep for like being like a bad technique guy. Sometimes, yes, his touch isn't the best and he takes a bit too long to shoot. That has been the case so far this season. But I think in terms of link-up play, he's fantastic, and he is just has a nose for the goal. He knows how to score goals. He showed that last season, the last 2 seasons even for Sporting. Even before that, he showed in the championship for Coventry that he is a really physical, good player who can deal with what English football is all about. So I think Gyökeres is a great option, especially now for Game 7 against West Ham. Even though West Ham, as we'll get to, are looking a lot better, I think Gyökeres is still a really good option. But there are so many other interesting attackers potentially, like not so many, but like there are a couple other interesting attackers. So I'm someone that has Gyökeres currently, but I might sell him just to make way for other players, because I do want to upgrade with the same money that I've spent on Gyökeres. I kind of want to upgrade in midfield, because both Salah and Palmer could be good options potentially. But for now, really happy with Gyökeres. I've had him since game week 1. And as you can see from my rank, it's going pretty well. I captained him in game week 2 against Leeds as well. So happy with Gyökeres all around. I think he's going to get a lot of goals this season. And he also needs some betting in time. Like, people are like just expecting him to be amazing from the start. He's already scored, 3 goals so far this season. And he's only just getting started. His teammates are getting accustomed to him. He's getting accustomed to Arsenal. He's someone that needs to, like, he's not someone that can, like, do everything by himself. He sort of needs to be set up by his teammates. And I think that's going to help with him just playing more with the team. He's going to be more understood. I think Ødegaard coming in and playing now is going to be a huge benefit to him as well. Eze, another like creative attacker who can get him the ball in good places. I think Gyökeres is going to be fantastic as well. So yeah, Timber, Gabriel, and Gyökeres. I've said a couple times now that those 3 are my favorite Arsenal options in terms of going for Arsenal players. And I think they're really good. When it comes to Newcastle, they actually have surprisingly good fixtures going forward now from game week 7 onwards as well. Anthony Gordon was back from suspension for this game, played only around 64 minutes, I think, before he was subbed off. But I think that was down to the fact that Newcastle wanted to defend the 1-0 lead that they had at the time. So I think Gordon's going to be a 90-minute player. He's going to be on penalties. He's going to be more offensively minded usually than he was in this game against Arsenal. So I think people are kind of sleeping on Gordon as a pick as well. Woltemade scored, was really involved with several like Gabriel things as well. A couple instances there. Gabriel easily could have been red carded, because he sort of like punched him in the face, or like maybe accidentally, but like he pushed him like and hit him in the face with a closed fist. So he probably should have been sent off as well. Gabriel was just, crazy performance from him in general. But yeah, got the 13 points in the end rather than getting sent off and getting like minus points. So yeah, FPL is kind of random sometimes, but what is not random is the fact that Arsenal won. They did deserve to win in the end anyways. You can see from the expected goals there, they were just a much better team this game. Nick Pope is actually the standout player I have for Newcastle because he had several outstanding saves, especially from SA shots. SA was close to scoring a couple times, but Pope just made fantastic saves one after another. But then in the end, it was actually Pope that was sort of at fault for Newcastle, both because he gave the ball away pretty quickly when he tried to start an attack straight away and pass it to Elanga. That went straight to Arsenal. Arsenal went up and got a corner, and on the corner, Pope did a really bad job trying to get to the ball. Left his goal completely open, and Gabriel scored the winner for Arsenal. But yeah, Nick Pope is a great player. It's just the fact that Newcastle have brought in former Arsenal goalkeeper Aaron Ramsdale in that I'm not like completely sure he's going to be the starting goalkeeper for the rest of the season. Because ideally, when you bring in goalkeepers, you want to keep them for a long time. Goalkeeper transfers are usually not worth it, and yeah, sometimes like. Goalkeeper transfers are just not worth it, really. So yeah, I'm not entirely convinced by Pope. I think if I was going for a Newcastle defender, it would probably be Dan Burn, who is playing every game. He has some goal threat as well, not as much as Gabriel, of course, despite being taller, but he is going to play every game, and he is pretty good for DEFCON as well, but he didn't get DEFCON in this game. It was actually the two other centre-backs, Botman and Tia, who got that, and also Joe Linton as well, with his 13 defensive contributions there from the midfielder. Declan Rice also got defensive contributions again. He also got the assist for the first goal for Arsenal. He looks like a decent option as well, but I don't think I would use an Arsenal spot on either Rice or Raya because I don't think their ceiling is that high. They're not going to get double-digit hauls, which I think Timber, Gabriel, and Gyökeres all can get, basically. So yeah, I think that is pretty much it from the game between Newcastle and Arsenal. A pretty huge game, so I'm giving it a lot of time, obviously. But let's move on to the next game that I'm going to talk about. And this is between Palace and Liverpool. Very interesting game. Palace went into the game with 17 matches unbeaten. They also beat Liverpool in the end in the Community Shield. And once again, they showed that they are a really great team to be reckoned with really this season, beating Liverpool, the first team to beat Liverpool this season. And Liverpool finally not getting the points in the end and getting a bit of a taste of their own medicine and conceding right at the end as well. They did, however, score again in like the last 5 minutes of the game with Chiesa scoring the equalizer in the 87th minute, but this time it didn't work out for Liverpool, who lost and once again sort of looked a bit not the best in the first half, and then they made some changes in the second half. Palace tried to defend their lead, and Liverpool just turned it on really after the break. So it was really a game of two halves. Palace were amazing in the first half, creating so many chances. Mateta had a shot hit the post. He had other good chances. Ismail Assar was once again fantastic back in the lineup for Palace. He looks like an absolutely great FPL option. Also, Munoz was close to scoring. He could have easily had more points by this point of the season. He's been really unlucky not to score, and he keeps playing super offensively for Palace, while also being part of that defensive backline, at least in FPL. He's listed as a defender, and he can get those clean sheet points as well for Palace. But yeah, Palace are just a really good team. They have so many good options as well. You can see the defensive contribution players there. Lacroix, Mitchell, Richards, and Guehi all got defensive contribution points. Guehi has actually been pretty impressive in that regard. I didn't really expect much from him in that regard, but he's been getting DEFCON points by like quite regularly as well. But Richards is even better in that aspect. He hasn't scored as many goals and assists and stuff like Guehi so far this season, but he's a more secure DEFCON player, so I think he's still my preferred Palace defender. Lacroix is like a bit of best of both worlds. He's pretty good for both bonus points and potential goal returns, but he's also fantastic for defensive contributions, but he's a bit more expensive than Richards, so that's why I don't really like him as much. And Munoz is still a fantastic option whenever Palace get easier matches, because they have a couple tough matches now. Not the worst, like they have Everton away and Bournemouth at home, I think, in the next two, and then they have Arsenal, so there are some like tougher matches for Palace, of course. But from game week 10 onwards, I think they have really good matches, and that's when Munoz could be the pick again from the Palace defense. Maybe double up with Richards and Munoz at that point, because they have some good matches from there onwards, from game week 10 onwards, really. But Palace looked really good in the first half, really should have been up like 3 or 4-0. Alisson had a fantastic game as the goalkeeper for Liverpool. He's still the best goalkeeper in the league by far. I'm a huge fan of David Raya, but people claiming that he's better than Alisson, just knock it off. Alisson was fantastic in the first half. Liverpool were a bit lucky not to be down by more after the first half, but they really changed things up after the half. They put on Gakpo, who is someone that looks like Liverpool look a lot better with Gakpo on the pitch, I think. They put Szoboszlai down at right back. They subbed off Conor Bradley, not for Frimpong, who's the other right back that they have, but for Gakpo, and then put Szoboszlai at right back. So again, Szoboszlai back at right back, maybe that is the decision for Liverpool. They don't really want to put him out of the team, but they also want to make room for Gravenberch, McAllister, Wirtz, Gakpo, Salah, Ekitike / Isak. Like, there's so many players for Liverpool that are fighting for places that putting Szoboszlai at right back seems to be the option for them, because Szoboszlai takes a lot of set pieces. He gets a lot of DEFCON points, of course, as well, because he plays as a defender sometimes, and he's listed as a midfielder, so he gets ball recoveries. It's still counted for him, even though he's getting points, basically getting like the defensive contributions as a defender. So he's an interesting prospect, Szoboszlai. I think in general, for like a pretty cheap price at Liverpool, taking set pieces, getting DEFCON points pretty regularly, and having some of that open goal, open play threat as well when he plays in those attacking positions. So he's an interesting pick, to say the least. But yeah, Liverpool managed to score. It was really a handball from Salah. He stretched for the ball and hit it with his hand, and then Richards wasn't able to clear it properly, and then Chiesa scored, came on again. Chiesa getting a bit of a cult hero status at Liverpool and scored. But then Nketiah scored the winner for Palace, the former Arsenal player. That makes a lot of sense for Arsenal, that they are happy with that, giving the first loss for Liverpool this season because of the Nketiah goal. So yeah, 18 matches unbeaten for Palace. They look outstanding, both defensively and offensively. They did concede a lot of chances in the end in this game, but that's because they faced Liverpool and they were defending a lead. That's just natural that they get a couple of XG against them. But they only conceded 1 goal. Still really good defensively. Offensively, with Sarr now back in the lineup, he's looking fantastic. Mateta's looking really good up front as well. So it was also interesting to see both Mateta and Nketiah playing together in this lineup, despite Palace having the lead. That's also interesting for Mateta's minutes, because people are worried that maybe Nketiah will take away from his minutes. But it seems like now they can play together in Glasner's system. So that's also a welcome change for anyone that has Mateta still. I sold him this game week for Haaland, and Mateta blanked with 2 points, and Haaland got like a massive score. But again, shows you how random FPL can be sometimes. Mateta easily could have had like 2 goals, and Haaland scored 2 of his goals in injury time, as we'll get to pretty soon, as that is the next game we're going to talk about actually. Yeah, I don't even think there's that much to talk about here. Maybe the fact that Szoboszlai was back at right back. Salah again didn't look the best. Like, I'm not sure about Salah long term. Isak missed a pretty big chance, which maybe should have been a penalty as well. Like, he was sort of impeded. I think he was sort of stepped on, but because he managed to finish, he didn't get the penalty, which is another thing that I sort of want to bring up in this video as well. I didn't mention it in the Arsenal game, but there was also an instance where, like, when Newcastle scored, Wolverhampton sort of put his hand on the back of Gabriel, and Gabriel, rather than trying to go for the ball, he just fell down trying to win a free kick basically from VAR after the fact, rather than going for the ball. And I think that was actually the right decision, sort of. I think he had a better chance of getting the goal disallowed from VAR from faking like an incident with Woltemade there, rather than actually going for the ball and still not being able to hinder Woltemade from scoring, most likely. And that was the case here with Isak. I'll get to another instance in the City game where if you actually try to play football, you don't really get rewarded, as you saw with Isak. Didn't get the penalty there, and he missed the chance as well. So Isak didn't look the best. He got 83 minutes because Ekitike wasn't ready to play in this game, but I think Isak still is a wait and see. Salah is still like a wait and see in a way. They're not really players to buy at the moment. We'll see what they do against Chelsea in Game Week 7, I guess. But I wouldn't really be too opposed to getting them in pretty soon, because Liverpool's fixtures are getting pretty nice pretty soon as well. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it for that game. Let's move on to the next one. And the third final title contender this season, in my opinion, is still Man City. People have been quick to write them off, but they are still really, really good. Destroyed Burnley 5-1 in the end. A couple goals late to make it seem a bit bigger than the result actually was. But it wasn't really underserved that it was 5-1 for Man City either. Haaland had another huge chance along with the goalkeeper that he missed, and he probably should have gotten a penalty, now that we're on the subject of people playing on and not getting rewarded for it. Jeremy Doku had a really nice run. He was basically fouled like quite clearly by Kyle Walker, but because he tried to play on, he got a shot off. The ref didn't pay attention to it, didn't give it a penalty through VAR, and that's just what happens if you try to play it honestly, which is a big shame, I think, in football. So yeah, just have to rant about that a little bit. But Doku, for what it's worth, 2 assists, 10 points in FPL in this game. He was fantastic. He's obviously not the headliner because Haaland was such a big triple captain and captaincy player this week, and he managed to get 16 points. Was amazing, of course, especially for someone like me that had him as triple captain. But Doku was fantastic. Once again, he got more praise from Pep, whether it was before the game or after the game. I think it was actually after the game, speaking about how he's so good at unlocking these low block teams. So that's also like a nice thing to think about in the future for when you want to get Doku or not. It's if he's facing teams that are playing with a low block usually, because that's when he is being valued by Pep, and he's showing his value because he can just create everything by himself. He's always been like a really naturally talented footballer, but now he's really putting it into properly getting assists and goals and proper contributions. Even when he's not assisting, he's just been a fantastic player this season and really helped Haaland get his points as well in the end in this game. But Haaland is still the headliner, scoring 2 goals, getting 1 assist, 2 own goals in this game as well from Esteve from Burnley, which is interesting. He also got DEFCON points and managed to get 0 points in the end because of the DEFCON points and appearance points, despite conceding scoring 2 own goals. But anyways, Haaland managed to score 2 goals in the end, and the 1 assist for the 1 or 2-1 goal, I should say, for City. So he got a lot of the goals and the plaudits, of course, after the game, because he's just lethal and takes advantage whenever Burnley mess up. And Esteve also, I think, was at fault for the final goal that Haaland scored. Basically headed it back for Haaland to score and get his final goal and get a lot of points for anyone that triple captained him again. So yeah, Haaland can't be denied. He scored several points again. He is the most important player to have in FPL still. I've said it since like game week 2 just about, even though I didn't bring him in until this game week myself. I did at least free hit him in game week 3 when he got 9 points for me. So at least I had that going for me. But Haaland can't be denied. He was fantastic. Another player that can't be denied is from Burnley, and that is Jadon Anthony. He scored once again, even away to City in a game that they were completely dominated in. He managed to score the 1-1 goal, actually, Jadon Anthony. So he has just been a really lethal player for Burnley. He's someone that you should definitely pay attention to. 5.6 million or maybe 5.7 now by the time this videos come out. He is still a really cheap and good option for Burnley. They've faced some really tough sides so far, Burnley, and Jadon Anthony has scored so many points, so he's definitely someone to pay attention to in general. But I think the main takeaways from this game is just the fact that Haaland is still amazing. Doku is fantastic. Foden didn't get anything, but he was so close to getting the goal. Most people thought he had scored the first goal for City, but it was actually Esteve who managed to get it in front of him and scored an own goal rather than Foden getting the easy tap-in for that goal. Foden I think is still like a decent option, but he's playing a lot of minutes lately. We'll see if Man City, if he plays a lot for Man City in the Champions League in midweek, that could maybe bode well for him if he doesn't play that many minutes, if he gets subbed off early, or if he plays like 30 minutes. I think like the ideal thing, if you have players in FPL and you're watching them in the Champions League, you want them to either get 30 minutes at the end of the game or 60 minutes before they get subbed off, meaning that they are a valued player of the side, but they don't play 90 minutes and they're not exhausted from the game either. So yeah, look for that when it comes to Foden and Doku and these guys and whether you should keep them or not. I think you should definitely keep them against Brentford because they have really high upside if you keep them, basically. But yeah, Foden looked good again. He looks like a good player. Pep is saying all the right things about Foden, that he's like back to his best and all that stuff. But he still hasn't really provided the goods in terms of FPL points as much as we expect from him, Foden. But he could be doing that next game week against Brentford, a team that he usually does really well against. So I think he's also a great option alongside Haaland and Doku. And yeah, any Man City defender as well should be a decent option. They didn't concede much in this game, just a Jadon Anthony goal. So the likes of Guardiola, Aït-Nouri when he comes back, I think he's going to be interesting. He's gone down in price a couple of times now as well. I think these are good options that you could potentially go for Man City as well. So yeah, that's it when it comes to title contenders. Let's move on to a team that is decidedly not a title contender, and that is Manchester United and their tough match away against Brentford. Not a tough match on paper, but a tough match for Man United because they are just really struggling currently under Ruben Amorim. Doesn't help when they are missing penalties as well, but yeah, several other problems with Man United in general. Also, I should make note of something that I did realize now looking at the XG numbers. Man United have the same amount of XG as Man City, 2.03 in this game week. But if you look at the games and you actually take that into context, you realize why XG numbers are not always telling the full story. Because Man United in this game, Šeško scored their only goal, but he scored after having like 2 or 3 chances to score. He had a header that was saved, had another shot that was saved, and then he scored. So those 3 chances put together makes up for quite a lot of XG. You can see Šeško there with the best non-penalty expected goal moment for Man United. But the most that Man United could score from that chance is just the one goal. Like if he scores on the first chance from the header, that's one goal, and he doesn't get the other two chances. If he scores on the second chance, he doesn't get the third chance. You get it, basically. When it comes to Man City, they had 2 own goals, which do not count for XG, because own goals do not count. Like that's not a shot on target, which doesn't account for anything for XG. So they actually got 2 goals from basically 0 XG, which is not really... doesn't say that they were completely, like they were super lucky to get the goals. It just means that there weren't any shots taken. So Man City, like if Foden finishes there rather than Esteve in that 2 or 1-0 goal for Man City, that's probably like a 0.8 XG chance. So yeah, even though the XG is completely the same for Man United and Man City, that does not mean that Man City were lucky to get 5 goals and Man United were unlucky to get 1 goal, because there are more things behind the numbers. The other thing with the Man United number is the fact that they actually got a penalty that's 0.79 XG, I think, by itself, and that's not always going to happen either. I think non-penalty expected goal moment or non-penalty expected goals is actually a better measure, because penalties aren't really that reliable, but they have been pretty reliable for Man United. They've gotten 3 penalties so far, but they've also been reliably missing them, because Bruno Fernandes has missed twice in the league this season, and that has not really been working out so well for Man United, who really are struggling in all different kind of areas. They also missed a couple of penalties in the penalty shootout against Grimsby, which is another reason for their troubles this season, that they couldn't beat Grimsby, or like a symptom of their troubles, I guess, this season. So yeah, Brentford also took the lead with Igor Thiago is his name. He really showed up and played his best football now the week after I sort of like wrote him off as an FPL prospect, because he was subbed off after like 60 minutes last game, and it didn't look like he was secure for minutes. But in this game, scored twice, really took advantage of a bad defensive line for United. Harry Maguire being too slow to basically making like an offside trap for Brentford. Thiago took advantage and scored a beautiful finish and gave Brentford the lead. Man United did score with Sesko. The goal that I did just mention, a couple chances there to shoot after Mbeumo sort of made Kelleher sort of miss the ball, and then Sesko took his chances properly. Man United also got the penalty. That was Mbeumo getting passed on like completely through. Could have easily scored there 1-on-1, but he was pulled back by Collins, and somehow the ref gave a penalty but not a red card, which is what you're supposed to do in that instance. It's not double jeopardy when the defender doesn't make a play for the ball, and he decidedly did not make a play for the ball. He pulled down Mbeumo, but I think the explanation is that Mbeumo didn't have control over the ball, which I can sort of get, I guess. But like the reason that he didn't get control over the ball is the fact that he was pulled back as well. Like who knows what would have happened. So yeah, I think Brentford sort of were let off the hook there by not getting a red card on top of the penalty, and then they also didn't concede the penalty. So yeah, from double jeopardy to just like double trouble for Man United, because they couldn't get either a red card or a goal from that situation. But yeah, Thiago scored another goal as well. He actually scored, he gave them 2-0 lead, I think, which was really bad from Man United goalkeeper Bayindir. Surely they have to bench Bayindir now and play the new goalkeeper that they brought in. Senden Lammens is his name, I think, because that was not good from Bayindir. He has had some good moments this season, but he's also had several more bad moments, so I think it's about time Man United do a change again to their goalkeeper position in general. But yeah, Man United in general just didn't look that threatening. Like I said, like how I explained the expected goal numbers, 2.03 is very inflated because the one goal that they did score was through like 3 big chances. So they were like, one goal is fair, like they really should have scored that one chance. But apart from that, it was just like a penalty and then pretty much nothing. So yeah, they could easily have 2 goals in this game, but they could not have gotten 5 goals like Man City despite having the same expected goals, because they didn't create as much as Man City by any measure really, even though the expected goals say the same thing. So yeah, a little bit of a rant there in terms of expected goals. I do have these numbers included because I think they do tell some parts of the story, but I'm also here to watch the games. That's why I call it the FPL eye test. You have to actually watch the games and see what is the difference between the stats and what actually happened, because sometimes those things are not aligned. So yeah, I'm not someone like Martin O'Neill, who's been like in the media lately, that's like completely writing off XG. It is a good measure for just looking at how big chances are when you actually get a shot off, but it doesn't tell the whole and full story. So yeah, you got to make sure that the stats have context when you use them, basically. Yeah, for this game, not really too much else to talk about. Not many DEFCON winners either. De Ligt, once again for Man United, he could be a good option once Man United get a better defensive manager, potentially. De Ligt could be good for both DEFCONs and attacking returns. He has like a decent potential there as well. But for now, I don't really think Man United assets are really people to go for. Even Bruno Fernandes now missing another penalty. You still expect him to be on penalties most likely, but who knows? Maybe it is Mbeumo next time. I'm hoping so as an Mbeumo owner for at least the next game against Sunderland, that he is potentially the next penalty taker. But yeah, it most likely will be Bruno Fernandes, I think, just because he has such a good record in the past at least. He's just been struggling to make anything work this season for Man United. And they are just struggling in general. That's definitely a team to target when people are playing against them. Sunderland now, even like if you have the likes of Isidore, for example, he could be a good option. Xhaka could be a good option potentially, because Man United do concede quite a lot of goals and quite a lot of chances, and they have pretty high scoring games in general. So yeah, definitely a team to target, and that's why I'm so interested in getting a Liverpool player for Game Week 8 when they play at home to Man United, because I think that could be a really high scoring game for Liverpool, especially if Amorim is still in charge at that point. So that's it for the Brentford Man United game. Let's move on to the next couple of games. And first and foremost, we have Chelsea against Brighton, and we have yet again a match where Chelsea struggle after getting a red card. So last game week against Man United, they got a red card and like really early in the game, and they just really struggled and lost. And this time around, they got the lead against Brighton at home. Then Chalobah got a red card and they really struggled and lost. So that has been the case for Chelsea. They're also struggling with defenders in general. Chalobah got sent off and is now suspended for the Liverpool game. So with all the injuries that Chelsea have defensively, with Colwell already out and now also Chalobah out, suspended, they're probably going to struggle a little bit against Liverpool in Game Week 7 as well. But for the first half of this game, Chelsea were actually a pretty good team. Took the lead with Enzo Fernandez, who's been fantastic in the place of Palmer, with Palmer out injured. Enzo has really taken advantage of that, and he's getting into really good goal scoring positions, as he did for the goal when he met a really deflected cross by Reece James that ended up on the back post, but Enzo Fernandez had taken the run, and he had an easy chance to score with a really high XG chance. I think it was like 0.9 something XG for Enzo to score there, because he basically headed it from like half a yard away from goal, basically. So Chelsea taking the lead. And Chalobah got sent off after really a big mistake from Andre Santos, who got the chance to start for Chelsea this game. He lost the ball, and Brighton pressured them and got the ball. On the way through, Diego Gomez, who scored like a hat-trick in the cup, I think, for Brighton, he got the chance, and he was tackled by Chalobah as the last man. And then after the ref gave nothing, VAR stepped in and gave it a red card in the end. I think the ref in this instance just let it go, left it up to VAR to overturn it, basically. And that happened. He managed to, or he got to announce that on the for the whole stadium, that it was a red card for Chalobah. And from that point on, Brighton basically turned it into their own game and got a lot of chances in the end. Welbeck got subbed on at the half, I think, and he provided the goods, scoring 2 goals. He scored the equalizer, 1-1. Really nice cross from Minte, who's been fantastic for Brighton this whole season, and is now looking like a really good FPL option as well. Really nice cross from him, really nice header from Welbeck. Then it went into injury time, where Maxime de Kuiper scored the goal for Brighton. Another header from in the middle of the pitch, or in the middle of the box, basically. Not really a place where you expect fullbacks to be in, but de Kuiper, as we saw in preseason, he's someone that really steps up and is in those positions to score sometimes. So he's someone that has been completely forgotten about, because Brighton have conceded goals in every game, basically, and he hasn't really scored much, but he is like a decent player to have if Brighton get on a run with really good fixtures where they can get some clean sheets. And they are actually getting some really good fixtures going up now, but I'm not sure about most of their assets. I think Minte is like the main guy. He had the assist for Welbeck. He also really easily could have had a penalty, where he was basically going in for a header on the back post, or trying to meet the ball with his head, and then he was kicked in the head by Malo Gusto. Ref looked at it, or VAR looked at it, and they didn't give a penalty for some reason. I don't know really what the reasoning was, because he was clearly, or like he was getting kicked towards the head. I guess like Gusto didn't see what was coming and tried to clear it normally, and he was like super surprised when he saw that Minte was there. But yeah, it seemed like something that they usually give a penalty for. So Minte easily could have gotten a penalty there as well, which I think would have been taken by Welbeck most likely at that point. But he managed to score anyway with the final goal of the game, when Chelsea were trying to push on for an equalizer, basically. Chelsea also could have had easily a penalty. I think it was maybe even at 1-1 in injury time, or maybe it was at 2-1 for Brighton, where Reece James went down in the box. It seemed like a penalty, but again, referee didn't do anything, VAR didn't do anything. Kind of weird refereeing performance, I think, in this game, both from the referee and from VAR with some questionable decisions. But Brighton in the end with 3-1 win in this match. Chelsea kind of falling apart a little bit. Makes sense with the red card that they are struggling, so I don't think you should like really write them off at this point, but they have been really struggling, and the manager is in more and more pressure now, Enzo Maresca. So I think that's something you should take into account. Joao Pedro is someone that people are looking to potentially sell because he has just been really struggling lately, especially with these red cards. He's been sort of dealt a bad hand. He's also struggling with some injury issues as well. You know, he keeps playing a lot of minutes because Chelsea don't really have anyone else to play up front. Nicholas Jackson sent out on loan to Bayern, and also Liam Delap injured. They don't really have many players to put up front. Maybe Mark Yu, but he doesn't really get the chance for Chelsea. He never has really. So they are really struggling. But I think Joao Pedro, once they get Palmer back especially, he's going to be back to some of his best at least. Chelsea have some really good fixtures, so I think he could be good eventually for Chelsea, but I get why people would be wanting to sell him, especially for someone like Gyökeres. If you don't have him already, it would sort of make a sense to do a transfer of Joao Pedro to Gyökeres. But I think he is someone that still needs some time. He has shown to be a good player this season. I was a bit cautious about him earlier in the season because he got most of his goals from set pieces, and I didn't really think that was sustainable. So that could be the case for him. But in preseason, he kept scoring goals from open play. He kept looking really, really good. That's why a lot of people chose Joao Pedro and had him in their team. That's why he's like 60% owned still. But I think a lot of people will potentially look to sell him now after 2 blanks in a row. But again, it's after they've gone down to 10 men. That didn't happen in the Champions League against Bayern Munich when they scored twice, and Joao Pedro wasn't even close to scoring there either. But yeah, interesting asset nonetheless, but I think I would keep him at least for another game week because Chelsea gets so many good fixtures. We're still not sure if it's going to be Palmer being back or if it's going to be Enzo in his place that's going to be the main guy in midfield. So I think for now the best attacking option is still Joao Pedro. He's still the most safe guy for minutes and playing in a good position. So yeah, someone to pay attention to. Also, Minte, I think, is fantastic. Brighton have really good fixtures, and Minte is someone that could really take advantage of that because he's been just really good for Brighton, and I think a haul is right around the corner for Yankuba Minte, so definitely a player to pay attention to from Brighton. Next up, we have the game between Leeds and Bournemouth, where I've written in the main takeaway for Leeds, doesn't convert loads, and that is a pun on the name Dominic Calvert-Lewin, DCL, because he had a chance to score a hat-trick after the first 20 minutes. He had 3 really good chances, could have easily scored 1, 2, or 3 goals in the first 20 minutes, but he didn't take any of his chances, which is what we've come to expect from Dominic Calvert-Lewin the last few seasons. Now that he is the main striker for Leeds, he's still getting chances actually, which is surprising to see from Leeds because they've struggled offensively so far this season, but they actually created a lot of chances in this game to score. And they also scored twice. Not Dominic Calvert-Lewin, however. It was a goal from Joe Rodon, the centre-back who a lot of people have actually brought in either through wildcard or other means as a 4.0 defender. He scored from a corner, which was kind of helped by the fact that Semenyo also hit the ball on the way towards goal, and that put off Petrovic in goal for Bournemouth enough for Leeds to score. Leeds also scored with Longstaff, who scored from like a shot outside the box, half volley from him. Kind of scuffed his shot, it seemed like, but he curled in perfectly into the post and in for Leeds. So they scored twice. Bournemouth, though, scored once between those 2 goals with Semenyo taking a free kick. He just finds new ways to score every single game week, this time from a free kick, where usually you'd expect Kluivert to take it. He was on the pitch, but Semenyo actually took it and shot it under the wall and didn't hit the guy laying down behind the wall who was like there to basically make sure that that didn't happen, because it just went straight into the middle of the goal basically, and the goalkeeper was kind of surprised and let in the goal despite it being like a shot he probably should have saved. But yeah, just was surprising, and Semenyo managed to catch him off guard, and he scored a goal again, Semenyo, from another way of getting goals. Either it's penalties, open play, free kicks. He finds new ways to score all the time. Senesi, also someone that finds new ways to score all the time. One of the traditional ways of getting points for him is DEFCON points. He has gotten DEFCON points every single game so far, 6 out of 6, leaving him as the only defender left who has managed to do that in every game week, Senesi. And still, he also managed to get an assist as well. He didn't get a clean sheet, but he still got 7 points from both getting the assist and getting defensive contribution points. So 7 points each from Semenyo and Senesi in a game where they only got 2-2, like right at the end. Scored a really late goal. It was actually Krupi Jr. the 4.5 striker, who some people have as like a backup, he actually scored and managed to get 6 points in this game as well. So yeah, I think that's the standout for Bournemouth. Semenyo and Senesi are just undeniable. They keep finding ways to score, and they are just tremendous value all around in FPL. I posted on Twitter earlier that Senesi actually has, like, he's on course for 279 points, I think, currently with his current score. Even if you remove the assists that he gotten so far, which you don't expect him to get 2 assists every 6 games. Even if you remove the assist and the bonus points that he got from those assists, he's still on pace for like 232 points, I think, this season, which is crazy. He's not gonna get that, because if that's the case, then Bournemouth would keep like 18 clean sheets and he'd get defensive contribution points in every single game. That's not gonna happen. He's probably gonna average like quite a lot less than 6 points per game, but even still, it just shows you that he is someone that is to be reckoned with for sure. Like last season, Tarkowski with defensive contribution points, he was the best defensive contribution player, who got like I think like in like 75 or something % of his games he got defensive contribution points. He would have ended with like 150 points, I think, with defensive contribution points added, and he was priced at 5.5. Senesi is still 4.9. He's still super good value considering he gets defcon points every single game so far, and he is like a pretty good attacking threat who plays every game for Bournemouth, who are a really good defensive team despite conceding twice against Leeds. So yeah, Senesi definitely a standout. Semenyo is still a standout as well for Bournemouth. Their matches are a bit like here and there the next few game weeks, but I think they're just tremendous value all around and players that you should look to bring in if you haven't already in FPL. Leeds assets, I don't really think that there's too many to talk about there. Dominic Calvert-Lewin can't take his chances really. That less than same as an asset. Joe Rodon did score, and he's also pretty good for defcon points, even though he didn't get them in this game. He got 9 defensive contributions, I think, so he was really close once again. But he's a good option. Anton Stach was someone that a lot of people brought in on the wildcard. He didn't really do much in this game. The long shot was from Longstaff, and he didn't get defensive contribution points either. He's been a bit like up and down in that regard, and that's why I sort of didn't really like him that much as a prospect for the wildcard in Game Week 6. But yeah, for my thoughts for the wildcard for Game Week 7, you can watch the video that I've already posted in terms of how you whether you should wildcard or not in Game Week 7. And I'm also going to post like the full wildcard lineup that I would select for Game Week 7 if I was to wildcard this game week as well. That will come out on tomorrow, basically, Wednesday. So yeah, that's the game between Leeds and Bournemouth. Let's move on to the next one. The next ones, actually, we have 2 more games here, or 2 out of the 4 of the final games we have here. A bit convoluted there, but Nottingham Forest against Sunderland, the game where we had the only instance of a clean sheet is this game week. That was Sunderland away to Nottingham Forest. Who could have thought that before the start of the game week? The last 2 game weeks have been like really like very few clean sheet potential or clean sheet games in general. But Sunderland managed to do it away to Nottingham Forest, despite Ange Postecoglou trying to play more offensively minded there, and creating a lot of chances. A lot of those chances for Nottingham Forest were headed for Wood, but he just couldn't find the target. Like, he couldn't score properly. He's been really good when it comes to converting chances, unlike DCL. He's actually been good at that, but this game he had several good chances to score and didn't. He easily could have had, like, on last year's form, he probably would have had a hat-trick in this game, but but he just also struggled to take his chances in this game. That's not something you can say about Alderete, who got his 1 chance for Sunderland, the 4.0 defender in FPL. Got the set piece perfectly to him on the back post. No one followed his run, and he managed to score quite easily. Despite Sells getting a hand on it, he didn't manage to save it because he has been struggling alongside Nottingham Forest this season. So Forest, bad week for them in general. They've just been really bad in FPL as well. They don't really have the best assets, and I think that's definitely a team to target because, yeah, Sunderland still managed to get a goal. They are not the best offensively, but they managed to get a goal here because Nottingham Forest just have a lot of problems defensively in general under Ange Postecoglou. Who would have thought? Someone that hasn't had that many problems in terms of DEFCON lately is Elliot Anderson. He's actually been really good and actually been better in terms of DEFCON with Douglas Luiz by his side. So that's something interesting, but I just don't think Nottingham Forest assets in general are people to go for because they have really tough matches now. They've had pretty easy matches so far, and they've struggled so far this season. So not the same team that they were last season. Nottingham Forest, a completely different team with a completely different manager, completely different system. They have Europe to think about as well. Just avoid Nottingham Forest assets in general. When it comes to Sunderland assets, I think both Alderete and Xhaka, they both showed their worth in this game. Xhaka had the assist for Alderete's goal. He also got DEFCON points easily with 20 defensive contributions in this game. Alderete also got defensive contribution points with 11 defensive contributions. So a huge 17-pointer for Alderete with the goal, bonus, clean sheet, defensive contribution points, and also the normal playing time points with playing 90 minutes in this game for Alderete. So he looks like a fantastic pick for 4.0. Sunderland don't have the best matches going forward though, because they had a really easy start to the season. And I'll be interested to see how well they fare in these tougher matches eventually this season. But Alderete for sure at 4.0 is a really safe option. You can just bench him most game weeks anyway. I know a lot of people, or some people that have him, did bench him for this game week, which must hurt a little bit seeing his 17 points on the bench. Especially if you're not bench boosting. But yeah, that happens sometimes in FPL, and Alderete is someone that is, a starter level type of player. You can start him, especially when needed, but we still have to wait and see how Sunderland do against these better teams in the league. So yeah, two interesting teams, I guess. Nottingham Forest is a team to target for sure, I think. They're going to concede a lot of goals under Ange Postecoglou, I imagine. Chris Wood has lost his... he did play a lot of minutes this game and got a lot of chances, but just didn't score. And Igor Jesus keeps looking good for Nottingham Forest, so I think he is going to take over as the starting striker for Nottingham Forest eventually. So, yeah, Chris Wood definitely someone that you could look to sell at this point of the season. Spurs against Wolves is the next game. This ended up being a draw, 1-1, despite Wolves being the leaders... all the way into 90 plus 4 minutes into this game, when Joao Palhinha, who also got defensive contribution points in this game, managed to score the equalizer for Spurs. Spurs were the much better team in the first half, I think, against Wolves. Kudus was especially impressive in terms of getting close to getting points in FPL. He had a shot hit the bar, a header that was deflected onto the bar from Sam Johnston. I think if Jose Sa was in goal there, that would have been a goal for Kudus. It was a good save from Johnston, saving it into the bar and out. Kudus had a good chance there. Kudus also scored a goal that was disallowed, but it was disallowed because he was quite clearly offside. That's one of the downsides to Kudus, and some things that we don't really take into account when we think about how good a player is, because someone like Salah or Haaland would not be offside in that instance. They would manage to stay onside and still score the goal, but Kudus was a yard offside. It was pretty clear. So yeah, people can say that he was close to getting another goal, could have easily had 2 goals, but he was clearly offside. It was nowhere near being onside for that goal. So yeah, but Kudus was really good in the first half, created a lot of stuff on his side, and Wolves managed to do something about it in the half because they made 2 changes, changed the system up, and Kudus was just nowhere to be seen in the second half at all. When Tottenham started to struggle a bit more, and Wolves actually took the lead. So yeah, they finally got a point, Wolves. They should have had 3 points, or could have had 3 points, but Palhinha scored that final equalizer really at the end there. Took off his shirt to celebrate, and then after the game said that he wasn't happy at all with anything, but I think he was quite happy to score that goal. But Palhinha has been really good for Spurs. He's actually scored a couple goals. He's been another one of these defensive / central midfielders who scored a lot of goals this season. I'm not sure if that is a trend or not yet, but yeah, it just has to be noted because there have been a lot of goal scorers from the middle of the pitch, really. And Palhinha being one of them with 2 goals so far this season. When it comes to Wolves, I think John Arias starting this game and getting defense contribution points as well this game, and also just looking good, is nice for him. He was a bit of a hyped preseason pick, but as Wolves' season has unfolded and they've been really, really bad, and he's been on the bench a couple times, he's completely lost all of his FPL flavor, I guess. People looked at him from the Club World Cup when he played in Brazil for Fluminense, I think. If that's his former club. He looked really good in the Club World Cup, but yeah, he struggled to start the season with Wolves, but he's looking now better and better, and he might be a player to take note of if Wolves are a viable team to go for. But I don't think so currently. They are not looking good. This is their first point of the season against the Spurs side that also have some issues, I think, in general. But yeah, finally a point for Wolves. Also 5 players in total that got defensive contribution points. That is a record. I haven't seen that so far this season, but they managed to do it with Santiago and Hugo Bueno both getting defensive contributions, Andre, Munetsi, and Arias also getting defensive contribution points in this game. So yeah, congrats to Wolves for getting a lot of defensive contribution points and getting their first point of the season as well in this game. Finally, let's end with the final 2 games of the game week. If I can actually finish the video, because I have to keep stopping the recording because I need to cough, because I am still working my way back into fitness after being sick this past weekend. But hopefully I can go through these 2 games without any coughing fits that you have to listen to, basically. But yeah, first and foremost, Aston Villa against Fulham. Really interesting game for a lot of different reasons. Watkins finally got his goal. Rodgers got an assist, which he shouldn't have gotten because he handled the ball, basically, and stole the assist from Watkins. And Fulham had some interesting things happen in this game as well. Let's just start from the beginning of the game. Fulham took the lead pretty early with Jimenez from a corner. He actually fooled me because I have Anderson in my team, and I thought it was Anderson who actually scored, but it was actually just Jimenez who was running past Anderson in the line of sight of the cameras and fooled me into thinking that it was actually Anderson scoring. But it was Jimenez scoring. He got subbed off pretty early because he was injured. That left Fulham without a striker. They had to put on Adama Traore as the striker because Muniz was actually injured and didn't play from the start of this game. But Fulham took the lead. Aston Villa equalized with Watkins. Really nice pass into behind the defensive line. Watkins, really nice run, really nice finish, and a really nice goal for him, finally rewarding his owners. He also should have had an assist. McGinn actually scored the 2-1 goal, which was also really nice. McGinn had a huge chance that he missed in the first half, and then finally scored from a much more difficult shooting position in the second half with a really well-taken shot. And then Aston Villa took the lead 3-1 when Watkins basically drove the ball into the box, passed it out to Buendia in the box, and Buendia scored. But on his way between Watkins and Buendia, it actually hit the hand of Rodgers. That's what I've written in the main takeaway. Rodgers handles business. And he was rewarded an assist for it in FPL, which is kind of crazy because either, like, what should have happened really according to the rules is that it should have just been deemed a handball because it hit the hand of Rodgers and he assisted Buendia, who scored. So it really should have been taken away, but since it wasn't taken away and it clearly hit Rodgers, he got the assist in FPL as well. Salah didn't get the assist in the Liverpool game despite him handling the ball, which caused Richards to miss. But in this game, Rodgers actually got the assist rather than it going to Watkins. So yeah, a lot of conspiracies to think about here for conspiracy theorists in FPL in terms of the points not going to Salah but going to Rodgers. Really strange decision making there in general. Speaking of conspiracy theorists, Fulham have a lot of reasons to be incredulous, like being suspect of the PGM in this instance, because they keep getting decisions against them. Again, this happened in this game. The first instance, I think it was, I'm almost coughing again because I'm struggling with my voice. The first instance was Josh King. He came through one-on-one with the goalkeeper. I was really interested to see how he would handle it because I still have King in my squad. He was on my bench in FPL. So I was just like, is he going to try to chip the goalkeeper? Is he going to try to go past the goalkeeper and then score? But what he did instead was just passing it out to the right and running straight at Emi Martinez, trying to get a penalty. And this, for the second game in a row, he got a yellow card for simulation, and correctly, in my opinion, because, yeah, like he did in this past game week, which was against Everton, I think, maybe. I can't remember off the top of my head. But this past game week, game week 5, I should say. My mind is all over the place now. But he basically ran into a defender and like hit the defender on the leg and tried to like pretend that it was a penalty. Got a yellow card for simulation. This time around, just ran straight into Martinez, who was still moving. That's why people said that he took King out. But yeah, he ran into Martinez and he could have easily gone either after ball or tried to go to the left even more to go around the goalkeeper. But yeah, basically just passed the ball out, tried to not play football, and luckily he was not rewarded for it, like I talked about earlier in this video. He actually didn't get rewarded for not playing football and trying to get a penalty instead. So I was happy to see that not being given the penalty, but then later on, he was, again, like he was really good, Josh King, in this game. Fantastic in the first half. Drove with the ball, shot it. It seemed like the ball was going towards the goal, maybe even in goal. Would have been a tough shot to stop. But before we saw Martinez try to stop it, it actually ended with the ball hitting the arm of Matty Cash, who like stretched it out to block the shot. But the shot went behind him, and his arm was like stretched out behind him as well. But it wasn't given as a penalty. They checked it and they deemed that his arm was in a natural position or like justifiable position, which I think kind of is correct. Like I don't think Matty Cash did anything to make himself bigger. Like I don't think he like purposely at least made himself bigger, but it did also stop the ball from going into the goal. So I think that probably should have been a penalty because Fulham were kind of screwed from getting a potential goal there with the ball going towards the goal. So yeah, I think one of the two decisions went against King wrongly. But the other one was quite clearly just him trying to get a penalty rather than playing football, which I'm happy to see him not getting points from. But yeah, King was fantastic in this game in general. He is like still, like I've written in the main takeaway there, the interesting King. He is the most interesting player that I've blanked in every single game so far because he is 4.5. He has so much potential. Even scored the goal against Chelsea that was disallowed and they later said was like not the correct decision. He's been so close to greatness, but he's gotten blanks every single game so far. But he's 4.5, starts every single game. He also gets subbed off every single game around 60 minutes. But he just looks so good for the 60 minutes that he does play. So eventually he's going to get a goal and an assist, maybe something more. He's going to get like a huge haul, but yeah, he just keeps being unlucky and not getting things going his way, which I guess somewhat karma, because he tries to fool the referees. Maybe he should stop that and just play football, and that would help everyone really, because he's such a fantastic player. I'm really excited to see his future in both the Premier League and in FPL. When it comes to other FPL assets, I have Anderson, of course. He got defensive contributions again. He keeps getting that 10 this time, so barely reaching the threshold, but enough to get the 2 defensive contribution points. So Anderson also looks really good, but Fulham don't have the best fixtures going forward. Just Aston Villa assets, they play Burnley at home next game week. So personally, someone that has Rodgers myself, if I had like a clear midfield replacement that looked super good, if Palmer, for example, was out injured, like confirmed to be out injured now for a while for Chelsea, I would probably just easily go to Enzo Fernandez, but he has Liverpool as well, so that's not even the best suggestion there. But like if I had like a slam dunk prospect in Game Week 7, I probably would sell Rodgers. But seeing as I don't really have an in midfielder that I really want currently, that I don't have already, like Semenyo for example, I'm probably just going to keep Rodgers for the game against Burnley at home. I don't have too high hopes for him, but it's a really nice game, so I'm just going to keep him, I think. Same with Watkins. I think he's also someone that you can easily keep. We're getting into West Ham pretty soon, and I think they have some really good assets that are going to be really good for Game Week 8 onwards, because West Ham have Arsenal in Game Week 7, when Aston Villa have a good fixture, and then Aston Villa get bad fixtures from Game Week 8 onwards when West Ham get good fixtures. So I think either if you have Watkins or if you have Rodgers, I think going from them to either Bowen or Paquetá or Somerville even for West Ham could be what to do in Game Week 8. Same with defenders from Aston Villa as well. Like Konsa, for example, if you have him for some reason still at this point of the season, you could also move him to someone like Juff, for example, because West Ham have really good fixtures on Game Week 8. So yeah, I think that's my whole thinking with the Aston Villa assets. I'm going to keep Rodgers for one more game week and hope that he does something against Burnley before I sell him for a midfielder that looks good and stands out in the first 7 game weeks of the season. So yeah, that's Aston Villa against Fulham. Finally, we have Everton against West Ham. The first game with Nuno Espirito Santo in charge. He was hired as a manager like pretty like late, or like he was actually hired after the game week had started. But Graham Potter was sacked with the view of getting Nuno Espirito Santo as the new manager right before the deadline actually for Game Week 6, which was really interesting and made people not be able to adjust their teams really, or really talk about how to adjust your teams, because this is a much better West Ham side. They did concede again from like not really directly from a set piece, but from like the situation after they cleared the set piece, where Michael Keane scored. So yeah, West Ham still conceded from like a cross. They are really struggling to handle that currently, but they looked a lot better defensively and looked better in general with Nuno Espirito Santo. Not perhaps in the first half. They played at the Hill Dickinson against Everton, like a really tough stadium to come to against a really good team in Everton. But in the second half, I think if West Ham are actually the better team, and after scoring the equalizer, they easily could have gotten the winning goal in this game as well. So yeah, plenty of positives to take from West Ham. Somerville was one of the brightest spots. He was close to scoring one time. Really fooled the defense and then sort of got in between the defense and Pickford when the defender, can't remember, I think it was O'Brien maybe, tried to header it back to Pickford, and Somerville almost got it past Pickford, but a really nice reaction save from Pickford to save the equalizer from West Ham there. But eventually West Ham got the equalizer. Jared Bowen, who is just undeniable, he scores goals all the time. He scored like 9 goals in the last 14 games for West Ham. He's just a really good FPL asset in general, and I'm really happy that I kept him myself. He got a lot of the points, or the 9 extra points that I needed to get 100 points this game week. So really happy with him scoring. Also Juff getting another assist, his 4th this season, which is absolutely amazing. In regular seasons, he'd be such a prized asset, but seeing as he doesn't really get defensive contribution points that much, if at all, he's not really like that highly thought of as a prospect. Also, West Ham not getting clean sheets doesn't really help either. 4 assists, and I think he's like the 25th highest defender scorer, like point getter so far. But once West Ham get more assists under Nuno Espirito Santo, I think Joff could be a good option. You also have Max Kilman, who's more like the traditional DEFCON guy. He got 13 defensive contribution points in this game. Paquetá got 13 defensive contributions in this game, and he still had chances, as you can see, the top number 2 for non-penalty expected goal moment for West Ham. So yeah, there are a lot of good options for West Ham as well. Fulkrug, who is in the same mold of Chris Wood up front, Probably works out for the Nuno Espirito Santo system. He played the whole match, was subbed off 3 minutes into injury time in this game, as West Ham were trying to secure the point in this game. So he might also be an option at 5.7 because he's going to play up front and get some chances to score as well. So West Ham looking a lot better in terms of FPL now, not only because they're getting a new manager in Nuno Espirito Santo, who still haven't really been able to put his mark on the team because he only had 2 training sessions with the team before this game. But they look better with him, and also just the fact that they are getting really good fixtures from game week 8 onwards after they're done with the Arsenal fixture. So Arsenal against West Ham next game week is going to be really interesting to see, both in terms of how Arsenal assets perform and also how good West Ham look with the new manager in place there. So yeah, really interesting. When it comes to Everton, I haven't really talked too much about them, and for good reason, I guess, because they didn't really do much in this game. Michael Keane got defensive contribution points and the goal, so he was the major player in this game. To the dismay of many people that went for Tarkowski instead on the wildcard, because he didn't get defensive contribution points in this game. He is usually pretty secure for defensive contributions, but only got like 7 or 8, I think, this game. So he didn't get the threshold of 10. And they also conceded the goal from Jared Bowen. So yeah, not the best start for Everton assets. And Jaya was subbed off after 81 minutes for Dibbling, replacing him just directly on the right wing there for Everton. And Jaya didn't really have too many good chances in this game either. Garner was actually like the more standout player for Everton. He keeps taking shots from right outside the box. He keeps taking set pieces. And he also got the ball back after his set piece to get the cross into Michael Keane, who scored for the goal as well. So he actually looks pretty good. He's also pretty good for defense contributions, gets that quite a lot. So he's been actually one of the best point scorers for Everton. The other good Everton asset is Kieran Dewsbury-Hall, who also, once again, looked really good, was in really good positions in this game, but just didn't get the final ball or didn't get the final shot off to get chances and get points. But he looked really good, but now he's going to be suspended for the next game week because he got another yellow card, his 5th yellow card in 6 matches so far. Really harsh, but I think it's like not as like super weird as people make it out to be, because yes, he won the ball when he tried to get the ball right at the end for Everton to score a final goal, but he also sort of stamped on the West Ham player there, Kyle Walker-Peters. So yeah, I don't think it was that bad of a decision to give him a yellow card or to give a free kick at least. Yellow card maybe a bit harsh because he didn't try to catch him. It was a bit unlucky. And I thought at first that he was given the yellow card for like his reaction to the tackle or to the free kick being given. But actually, I think in the referee report, it actually was for the foul that he got a yellow card, which is very harsh, I think, because he didn't really do much like bad in that instance. So yeah, I get his reaction, why he was super upset if he saw the referee getting the yellow card, because he knew already if he got a yellow card, he would be suspended for the next game. And that's going to be a huge loss for Everton because he looks super good so far this season, Dewsbury-Hall. So he's going to be out against Crystal Palace. That's a huge plus for Palace and their chances of getting clean sheets. But they also have Tyler Dibbling, who is ready to come on from the bench. They also have Alcaraz. They have a lot of good players on the bench. McNeil as well. So they are going to replace him well. But yeah, Dewsbury-Hall again looked good in this game, but he's still waiting for his return. He's only had 1 return, 12 points in game week 3. That's it basically for Dewsbury-Hall. So yeah, his frustration is valid. The frustration for people that have him in FPL is also valid, especially my co-host on the FPL Scope podcast, Kevin, who has had him all season, but free hit it in game week 3 and didn't have Dewsbury-Hall for his 12-point haul, has only gotten blanks before and after. So really unlucky with him in general, Kevin there. Yeah, that's it for the video, I think. Luckily, I was able to get through this final part as well without coughing and all that stuff. Really difficult to go through this video because I just kept having these coughing fits. So that's why it's a bit like cut up and like, yeah, furbished around. But I don't think you'll notice too much because I'm just going to do it without really notifying you in the middle of the video. But I was going to leave a blooper towards the end, like after the credits in this video, just to show you what I was struggling with this whole video. So I really hope you appreciate the effort. Took me a lot of effort to get through this, like around an hour. I don't even know how long this video is going to be because I've recorded it in so many different instances. But yeah, I really hope you appreciate the video. Like it if you did like all the information that I gave you. Subscribe if you liked, if you like the YouTube channel. If you feel confident in me because I have this really nice rank right now. I think early ranks are kind of like BS a little bit. I can say that now as I have a good rank. Actually, like this is my platform to say that like early ranks aren't really that important. It doesn't really tell you that much about being a good FPL manager. I can actually tell you like an anecdotal story from my own like work league. I have a colleague who doesn't know anything about football who has had Lucas Nemecha from Leeds. You probably don't even know who that is. in their team, in her team actually, since game week 1. Captain Nemecha in game week 1 as well. Got a goal from a penalty just super luckily in the first game against Everton actually. And that manager now, triple captain Haaland in this game week, and actually has like just slightly less points than me. Is like in the top 100k despite not knowing anything about football. Just have had Haaland, another Norwegian, had Haaland as captain the whole time. Have had some other good picks. I think they just like auto picked in game week 2 on a wildcard or something in game week 2. And brought in like Semenyo and Senesi and the guys that did well in the first game week. Semenyo at least. So yeah, the rank doesn't really mean much at this point of the season, but I'm also obviously really happy to be in that rank, and I think it has been well earned. I've made some good decisions, which I'll talk about in a video after game week 7, going into game week 8, which is going to be the international break. I'm going to have some videos where I'm going to look back in the first 7 game weeks on what I did right and what I did wrong, so I'll get that as well eventually. So if that sounds like a good option for you, something to watch, then please subscribe and you'll get that video once it's out. And I hope you enjoyed this video as always. See you next time. That'll be it for me before I cough. You'll get to see the bloopers in the after the credits. So yeah, thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye bye. That's that game. Let's move on to the next one. To a team that is decidedly not a title contender, that's Man United. They're not going to be title contenders for a long while either. As much as their fans quite like to haggle with Arsenal and the fact that they don't win trophies and stuff, and Arteta is a failure and all this stuff, they wish they could have had a manager like Arteta, Man United, because they are really struggling currently. And I'm really struggling currently with my voice, so I gotta stop.